And hello, hello, hello. We should be streaming now. Fingers crossed. I'm just gonna make sure that messages are sent out so people will know that we are streaming right now, so that nobody misses if they want to catch us live. I'm still muted. How's it going, Henry? Sorry I was so quiet there working on something. I was sending out messages to the Discord so people can see. Because I usually stream on Fridays. And this is weird that I'm streaming on a Saturday in the middle of the day. But I am house slash dog sitting for my sister, so I have to do this now. Hello, the Annihilator. Is that pronounced? I'm scared to try it because I might butcher it so poorly. Siam. I'm editing while watching. Nice. Yeah. If you have any questions about the tutorial from this week, or if you just have any questions in general about DaVinci, I'm open to answering them. But if you want to just work, feel free. I'm also going to be updating a script, the marker to YouTube chapter script, to allow for like customizing the time code so it doesn't have hours if you want that. I might do it up here. Oh, was that your message? I saw someone message left that in one of the posts. I wasn't sure if that was you or not. So I don't know if I can personally make one because it'll take a while, but I also don't really need to. People have already made um, puppeting tools before. Let me get my file from my DaVinci. If I can figure out where I put it. There it is. Oh, wait, was it a fuse? Simple Man. Here we go. I don't remember where I found this, but I will try to find the video. But someone has made a puppet tool before. I wonder if I look up the exact name of this, if I can find it. Because I think I found it from a video. Yeah, here we go. Let me drop this into the chat here so you can find it. Essential. Welcome in. I was just sending out that link because the Annihilator was wondering about getting like a puppeting tool, which there is kind of one that already exists. I just hate puppeting tools because they require so much setup beforehand. I wish it was way easier to do that, but yeah. Like I wish you could just like rig up bones like you can in 3D and it would work the same, but alas, we can't have that. Maybe one day. But yeah, I'll just be over here in coding land today, updating my script for changing markers into YouTube chapters. I'm just adding a feature that allows you to turn off the hour tick, like the hours, so you just have minutes and seconds. But while I'm doing this, while I'm updating my script here, if you have any questions, if you want to talk about anything, feel free to drop something in the chat, and I'll be happy to respond. We can talk about anything; does not matter to me. Let's do this one. Oh, I have my headphones are unplugged. It's playing on my speakers. Let's put that in there so I don't have to hear it. Good. Right now, I'm alone in this house, but I actually live with my parents at the moment. Just so I can get some income coming in. So I'm not just trying to survive off of pennies while having to pay for rent and a bunch of appliances and other things that come with having an apartment. So not living alone yet, but right now I'm alone. So it's nice and easy to be loud. Okay, so I want to add a checkbox to this. I want to just get this line. We're going to add a checkbox. And if you guys are confused about what I'm doing here, this is the UI setup. If you guys want to know anything about UIs, obviously in a next video we'll be talking about that, but I can try to explain some here today if you want. So meta macro, but when you use it, it's a bit slow in optimization recommendations. Depends on what macro you have. I have to see it to try to play with it for a while. Like music's too loud. Turn that baby down a little bit. Oh, I know what happened. I didn't turn it down in the browser. I usually do that. Like I said, I'll have to see it. So if you want to, send it in the Discord, and I'll take a couple days to look over it and let you know anything that I find. It's based in a transform node, and it's slow. Does it have a lot of expressions and stuff like that? Because expressions can be a little slow, I've noticed. Especially if they're doing a lot of math. Yeah, it could also be the motion blur. Motion blur always causes lag. Sent it in the shared your work channel. Did I just miss it? This is it. The elastic animator. Here, I'll quickly hop into Fusion. We can take a look at this. The Discord server is in the description. It is, I think, the second link that you can find. Or I guess in this stream's case, it's the second link. Yeah, it has motion blur and expressions. Yeah, that definitely could cause all the lag that you're experiencing. It could be a couple of things, to be fair, because Fusion does not like to play fair with DaVinci. Let's see what we got. I'll quickly take a look at it now, and then we can get back into coding. But I know that macros are a loved topic for many. You probably don't need this visible. Oh, viewing only. You probably can hide this then. With the IC visible stuff that I was showing off from another video. So this looks like it's a simple animation engine of sorts, right? Using a transform node to base all the animations. So like it's the transform node controls that are being animated is what I mean. Is that what's going on? Or am I misunderstanding? Well, it should be able to be hidden with IC visible, and you should still be able to see the graph, I would think. I don't know why you wouldn't. How's it going, Sleeveless? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to the stream. Right now we're just looking at something that Henry sent in, and then we can work on some coding stuff. Unless there's other questions. I'll always do questions first. Okay, so right now nothing's happening. Animate. Okay. Oh, okay, there's the animation. It happens so late. Oh, I see, I see. Okay, so it actually sets real keyframes. Okay. That's actually kind of cool. I need to look at the code you're using for that, because I don't actually know the code to add keyframes off the top of my head. I thought it was the code I showed off in my scripting video on Friday, but I don't think it is, because it didn't work for me. But I also could have a broken file. Oh, right, the Lua file that you also uploaded? I did see that. I didn't see it was Lua, though. I missed the Lua part. You think you messed up with this a little bit, but was pretty cool. You talking about the scripting stuff or a macro thing? Yeah, I take it there's a I'm assuming, I guess, there's a part of this that has your scripts. Yep. Oh jeez, you made them like 2 lines. Dang. You messed up his macro. Oh, or did you just messed with? Oh, I thought you said messed up his macro. Okay. Yes. Also, scripting also can be a little slow when you're using it for animation. Where'd you get this logic from? Where'd you find this stuff? So you can get the splines. I'm learning, guys. I'm learning here. This is how you learn. You tear someone else's work apart and you steal. No, I mean, that is a huge part of coding. Taking someone else's work and learning from it. But most likely that person found it somewhere else and then learned from it and then is now using it. With the about section of the Fusion documentation, the PDF that comes there. And then I got GPT. Do you know where you found, gosh, what is the code that actually sets the keyframe? Oh, it's the keyframe data. Oh. It's being added, from what I can tell, as a table. Yeah. Okay, so it's being made into a table. Alright, and that's how you're setting all the data for it. And then, does this also control like a curves thing, or is the curves like, how is, I need to like study this. I need to figure out how this all works. Yeah, so yeah, there's the curve for it. I can't see it, but I'm assuming it's in there. Center? Yeah. It didn't move. Oh, is it not working? What's happening? That's why. RH and LF stands for the coordinates of the handles. Okay. Can we hide all the controls of a bunch of nodes in an underlay at once? Is it possible? In an underlay? Do you mean an actual underlay like in Fusion? Because there is something called underlay. I don't know if you were referring to that or not. Because it sounds like you're talking about hiding controls in the inspector. But an underlay is like a node. I just want to make sure I know what we're talking about. Yeah, this. I mean, you can put multiple nodes into an underlay, but you can't like collapse it. Like, there's no way to collapse this or minimize it or something. If you make it into a group, though, it actually that's not a group. If you make it into a group, though, it acts a lot like the underlay does, because you can open it up and it looks pretty much the same, except the like in and out points like that. So it's similar but different. I don't know. You can't really like hide them in there, but you can do multiple nodes. It's just good for organizing though. But I like to use groups. Also with groups, if you select just the top of the group, it technically is selecting everything inside of it. So if you had it closed, this is selecting all the nodes inside of it along with the group itself. If you clicked on the underlay, and just clicked underlay, it'll select everything. But then you have all these extra selections. I don't know. It kind of does the same thing still. So it's kind of just up to whatever you want to use. Doesn't really matter all that much. But for optimizing, it definitely would be like motion blur, since it's so slow. Can we do some scripting to archive this? What do you mean by archive? I'm assuming we're still talking about underlays. Can we do scripting to achieve like underlays or groups? I actually don't know. That's a good question. Yeah, it happens. Spelling mistakes happen all the time. It's no big deal. Looking at my information I have. Yeah, let me pull this over here so you can see what I'm looking at. I'm just, you don't like groups. Groups can be annoying as heck. I like them in certain situations if I'm trying to organize, but I also like them as like macros because they also help future people coming to view your work. It makes it easier for them to like view what you did. But also there's like professionalism or privacy. If like you don't want people to easily have access to all the nodes to like fuck something up or whatever. So it's up to you, whatever you want to do with it. But let's see, can we group? group does exist in here. Can we group nodes? I don't know. Let's find out. This is literally what I do to find out if something exists. Is I either go to this or go to a few different places. So first we're trying this. Because this has the most node-based information. This looks like we're talking about rendering a job for a comp, yeah. Not for video, because obviously why would they include that in the scripting guide? Lists all tools in a group or macro. That's not what I'm looking for. I want to make it a group. I feel like I knew how to do this. That is a group parent. The tool is inside. What? The parent tool? I don't know what a parent tool is. More rendering. Let's check a few other places. Does this have anything about it? I don't think so, because this is all edit page, resolve stuff. This is the problem with all this information, is that there's no good documentation for it. This is more edit page stuff. Any fusion stuff at all? No. Why would there be? I looked here already. I'm assuming there is a way to add, like, make a group or make an underlay. How you do it? Not sure yet, but I'll figure it out. We have all these groups, but a lot of these groups are relating to UI stuff, like age group, stuff like that. What's this? You mean like watching me try to figure out all this code stuff is making you realize how tough it is? Is that what you're saying? It's not tough, it's just a lot to have to look through. It's fast, it's quick enough to look through. It's just tedious. Because if you, with all these search features we have nowadays, websites are nothing. It's just finding what you need, that's the hard part. Is there one for just scripting? Oh yeah, there's not like sections for the form. That sucks. Am I missing it? Oh, here we go. Oh, I was in it already. I was looking for the DaVinci Resolve scripting form and I was already in it. Dummy. Let's do a search for grouping or just group. See if we find anything good. Come to think of it, No, that wouldn't make any sense. Never mind. I was thinking about the way that they handle macros. So when you, my script that I have in my unreleased script, uh, which I'll talk about another time probably, but in the for macros, you switch a macro type by like changing a different part of it, but you have to change the operator from macro to group. The problem is we're not changing the operator, we're just grouping nodes. So why wouldn't there be code for it? I don't know. I'll find it. I'll figure out what it is, and I will probably post about it in the Discord or something. I know it has to exist somewhere, but the problem is where. Anyway, any other questions I can maybe answer? I'll find it. I'll find it. There has to be. Like, if there's not, I'm more surprised that there wouldn't be. Hi. All right, we need 0.75, 0.25. Hopefully this is gonna work. Not look horrendous. Making UIs is great, but it's really stressful because you're like, oh man, it's gonna look ugly. It's gonna look hideous. Okay, so now if we were to reinstall this and run this, for those of you who aren't sure what I'm doing, I'm editing my script that changes markers to chapters for YouTube. Okay. So it shouldn't do anything, but it should have a nice checkbox there now. Good. Okay. Well, I'm probably gonna remove only from that. Let's remove only. Right? Nice checkbox. Super, super cool. Super wow. I'll explain what all this nonsense means when I make my video in a couple weeks. This is pretty much all you really need to worry about is wait. Make sure you have an ID, and then some of them include a text. And then you can have an optional style sheet to change certain things, like with CSS. Pretty cool stuff. CSS is the like website stuff, right? It's the website code that you have with HTML. Yeah, it's HTML and CSS. Yeah. Oh darn. Oh, I didn't reinstall it. This is the problem with having a file that you have to reinstall each time, is you forget to reinstall it each time. Oh yeah, like a huge thing that they were trying to do early on with Fusion, mostly with just Fusion, because I'm sure that DaVinci didn't have all this special fancy scripting stuff before they bought Fusion. But the guys who made Fusion, what were they called? Shoot, I knew it. Ion Software. The Ion Software guys who have watched their old YouTube channel, they have some good like 2008 young company videos on there. It's really hilarious stuff. I saw them like on like a bus party or something from like 2008. It was really bizarre, but it was like, this is really endearing. Anyway, they definitely had a lot of like community in mind when they were making a lot of this stuff, because the original controls editor for Fusion was someone else just made a script in their scripting language that allowed you to change the controls on a node, and it would update the control. Like, that didn't exist until that script existed. It's like someone made that and then they just added it to the software. Like, this has been just based around community added stuff since the beginning. And this was back when it was Fusion 9. Yeah, just Fusion 9. And I think we're on Fusion 19 now. or at least we're about to be. Also, that script has not changed since they released it as a script, by the way. But yeah, that looks good. There's no more onlys on there. Including hours. Should it say include hours? Does that make a lot of sense? Well, I guess by default it makes sense to have it unchecked, right? Yeah. I'm also going to update this to save your previous uses options. So when you reopen it, it just has your previous options loaded again. The exact same. I think the file path might be cleared because I think it may. My thought process is you export the file of your chapters when you're exporting your video. So it's going to have a different location each time. But I guess it could be the same place each time still. And having it, I don't know. I guess I'll have it remember it as well. This is the process that you go through when you're making a macro or a script or something. You're like, okay, I could do this. How do I want to do it? Okay, that makes sense. But actually, yeah, I could do it this way. This actually makes more sense. It's a bunch of back and forth. My nose is all itchy. Itchy nose. Okay, what do we want to do next? Probably add some functionality to it. So when we go to convert the frames to timecode, when we are about to format down here, yeah, when we're formatting the string, yeah, we have hours. I don't need any of this stuff, do I? Because there's no frames. Anyway, so we just need to add some logic. Oh, I definitely will. Not next week, because next week is macros, but the week after that is going to be UI stuff. I'll be making something from scratch. And we're going to be making stuff starting with UI. And we're going to have a pretty basic UI to begin with. And then we'll be updating it and making it more advanced as we add more features to the script. But, let's see. We need to check to see if... let's see. Where are we getting other information? There we go. So we need to check the checked state of our checkbox and see if it is checked or not. Like, this stuff, it sounds scarier than it actually ends up being. I guarantee it. Okay, if we're not print to console, it is going to be include hours. Check state is equal to checked. Then we include this. Else, so if it's unchecked, then it will do another thing which I'm going to update. So we need to probably remove this front one, if I had to guess. And that should hopefully be minutes and seconds now. I don't really know, but let's see. In theory now, if we were to reinstall this, give her a run. That was the wrong thing. That was the script from last video, but I'm glad it still works. Let's try that again. Float a chapter. Let's not include hours. Let's go and just print to console. Aha. Hmm. Ah. Helps to not make it a local. Did you find the solution to the viewing problem? No, I have not. I'm assuming you're meaning like the comp wasn't working in that video. I am not sure what the problem is and why it's not working. I'm guessing it's a bug, because by all means it should have worked. And I tried it without the piece of script to like load the Fusion comp too, just like bringing us into Fusion to see if it would automatically load it, and it doesn't, because even that had the same problems. So I don't know why. I don't know why it was giving us all that crap. Why it was giving us all these problems. But who knows? Maybe there's a line of code I missed. Like one line of code is what I'm missing to make it work. Or I gravely understand how the Fusion comps are stored inside of a clip on the timeline, because there's no documentation for it. There we go. And that printed... It almost printed correctly, but we got minutes and hours. We didn't get the seconds in there. So we're close. So what we need is this back on there. And I think if we just remove... Actually... So we don't need any of this. This can all go away. I'm also pretty sure I only need one, because the return is what's going to change. Not the string formatting. Because that still needs to be hours, minutes, right? So what needs to change is if there's hours in the return instead. So if it is checked, so that it means it include hours. Okay, so not including hours does there. Okay. That should work now. Should. Fingers crossed. I didn't reinstall it. I was like, it didn't do anything. It's the exact same. It doesn't make any sense. I expected at least an error. Now let's try that again. Hey, there we go. And if I wanted to print it with hours, we have it fucking up. Woohoo! Because I didn't do something fucked up. I think the problem is this. So let's copy this and just undo until we're back to the full string. Yeah, that. So I think that's what we need. So let's get rid of this and this. Theoretically, I could improve live saving with it. Actually, I don't know about improving. Recreating a live saving feature probably could happen. Improving the live saving feature, I don't know. Don't know about that one. So we need to include hours, print. Okay, so now we get all three of them. Good. Sweet. Shit. So it says value expected at line 179, which is down here for some reason. 179. Why is what? Here, I'm not using these two. So if dropped frames, we can just get rid of all of this because we're not dropping any frames. We don't have any dropped frames. Don't have interlacing. We also don't have any frames at all. But I'll keep it. Just because. Let's try it. I don't know. Okay, so what? Wait, is this not did I not? I didn't install it again. I'm doing fantastic with this whole reinstalling thing. It's really, really good and helpful. Okay, 160 now. Oh, crap, because I removed a bunch of files, or a bunch of lines. Why is this saying it's wrong? What? Why doesn't it like this? Why is this so fucking broken? What's going on? Am I misunderstanding something about this that I'm looking at wrong? So if I check it, it runs fine because obviously it's set up to work that way. When I uncheck it, it's mad. Why whenever I uncheck it, it gets mad? Here, let me pull up the original version of this that I found, which I found this in Snap Captions, which I don't know why it's there, by the way, because I couldn't find it being used anywhere, but I could have missed it, to be fair. But yes, we have that. Cool. Oh no, it is being used in some places, I guess. Yeah. Whatever. Okay, so what we're looking at here. Okay, what if it was exactly like this, though? Let's try that again. Is anyone being mesmerized by what I'm doing? Does anyone need me to walk anything through? Kitty, that's mad too. So I think that's not right. Why is it being weird? I'm so confused. I'm bad at strings, if you haven't noticed, by the way. I'm not very good at messing with strings. What? 4Q2, man. So it clearly wants an hour here. Why? Why? And also, why did this work before and it suddenly didn't work now? What did I change that made it break? I didn't install it. At least I don't think I did. We may need to change both of them. And this one needs to just not include, I don't know, this first one. I don't freaking know. I'm pulling at straws here. Pulling at strings. Hoping something sticks. Which is honestly a huge part of what you do when you start coding. I just kind of hope it works. Okay, that almost worked. Let's get rid of hours again. Now, does it work now? Almost. Now this is the exact same string I have up here. What the fuck? This is really annoying. So now it's just not going to work now. What? I'm not installing it. Let's try that again. Is anybody here, by the way? No one's talking chat in a minute. I'm just talking to myself, it feels like. I may be working away, but feel free to ask questions and I will answer them. Welcome, Annihilator. At least welcome back to the chat. Okay, that looks like that's working now. And if I include the hours now and print, hey, just looking. Okay, no worries. I just felt like, I mean, I figured you guys were lurking at least, but I wasn't sure if anyone was like paying attention to what I'm actually working on, or if we're just like parallel working right now. Next up, let's make a feature that saves everything and then reactivates everything whenever we turn back on the script. So when the script closes right here, when someone presses the X, we need to save everything from all of the options into a savable location, which we can do built into DaVinci, which this is a little bit more advanced. So if you're new, this may be hard to comprehend what we're doing. No worries. This will obviously be re-uploaded. Stay on my channel for forever. So feel free to watch this whenever you get the chance to, or whenever you want to, feel like it. I don't know. I don't care. These are just here for me to talk with you guys, get to know you, share some interesting knowledge, hang out. You know how it be. Okay, win item. So we need to get win item dot timeline check dot what is it, current index? Yeah. So we need to get this and save it. So to save into the app itself, to save into DaVinci Resolve or Fusion, you can quite literally save information to it that won't affect anything besides you recalling the information back. So I can do Fusion, and I think colon set data, and I can set the name of the data, which it's going to be timeline, or I guess we probably should have 2 chapter timeline, or yeah, timeline, since it will match the name of it. So then we can do that. Okay, and then that is going to be the data that's being stored. So we're going to create basically like a string or a table in Fusion as data that can be recalled at any point in time in the future, until they, I guess, like reinstall DaVinci or lose the files of DaVinci or whatever. But then they can just recall this, and this information can be brought back at any point in time. We can duplicate this now, and we can go and do hours. We can do include hours, check state, and it's going to say checked or unchecked. Like, this stuff's not rocket science. It's not too complicated. It is a little bit confusing and weird if you haven't seen this before, but it's not too bad. Next up, we want to change or save the file path. Probably don't want that to be so big. I'm making these small just for in the future when I recall them. They're faster to recall. Let me just double check that file path ID is file path. No, good. See, that's why I always check. It is file location. Let's come back down here. File location, and we want the text. Yep, there we go. We then want to get print as well. So we want to see if printing is going to work. And we're going to check the state of print to console. And there we go. That's going to save all of our data for all of our controls. And then when we reopen the script, we need to set all of the controls to that. So what we're going to do down here at the very bottom is when we run the script right here. So this is the activation script for when you first launch it. If you don't have the script installed, it will open up the installing window and then run the installing. If you do have it installed, it'll just run the loop. So what we can do before we even run the loop is run a function that sets controls, right? We can have a function up here right above us. Local function, for example, I guess, sets controls. And now we just need to take that information that we just stored and do the opposite, and instead add it and affect stuff in the script. So what we can do, get all this stuff again, and let's actually set these to get data instead. And then we're also going to remove all of these other halves. So it's just the name of the stored data. And we're going to make these into variables now. So I'm going to do a trick in VS Code to let me select multiple lines. And I'm just going to make these local. And then I guess I'll give them different names per section. So we're just going to make this timeline. Hours. File. And then print. Okay. Now we need to just make these variables those items, or like set the controls of this to those variables. So now we can do. I'm just going to copy all these again because I'm going to paste these and then remove everything except for the thing that stores the controls information. But for us, it's going to set the controls information. And all that stuff. And then we can do equals to timeline, hours, file, and then print. Which the problem with having this called print is the fact that print is also a function, so changing this to probably be like print probably makes more sense to just get rid of the I. And we also want to check if these variables come back as nil, so if there's nothing that was originally existing before. So if this data does not exist in Fusion, we need to be able to say, okay, well, instead of just doing that, let's actually set this to be something else. So like, what's the default of our setup going to be? And I think, I know that just minimizes everything, doesn't it? I want to have this over everything, but I can't. So I think we want the default to be timeline markers. We want this to be unchecked. That's going to be an empty string. And this is probably going to be partially checked. Because this is partially checked, this is checked, and this is unchecked. That's what a tri-state checkbox has for it. So this is already setting all the controls, but if these don't exist, they're going to not work. It's going to come up as nil. So we can say, or we want it to be something else. So we want our current index to either be what we have in the save the data, or it's going to be 0, which should be the use timeline markers. And then for hours, we're going to make the default unchecked. For file location, we're making the default an empty string. And then for the print to console checkbox, we're making this partially checked. Let me make sure I spelled partially correctly. How do you change the name of a table in Lua? What do you mean by change the name of a table? Like the variable? Like, you can't fully replace a variable, like removing the existence of the old version of it. But you can make like a recall to it, like recall the variable and just call the other variable's name for that variable. Like how in the video for yesterday we did, like you can do you can call table 1 up here, but then later on you call table 2 and you just set it equal to table 1. Like you can do that and then just call table 2 anywhere else, but you can't like in the code replace the name of the variable, because it's variable. It's already in the code. It can't be changed. It's not like it's hard coded into a software to where like you have to change it through code. There's just like re-referencing the table or completely giving it a different name when you first make it. Partially checked is one word, so let me actually change that. And it should, yep, it is being referenced somewhere else. Okay, and that should be it. That should now work just fine. If we go to install this, which I don't know why I've been doing this in Fusion, I can do it in the console. We do install. Let's check it out. Okay, so yep, the default is that, and everything looks to be good. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, everything there seems to be working just fine. I'd say we have an update to the script. And since I just changed what the script does, it's starting out as something different. That should not be what it's doing. It should be doing this. So it should be being set to the check. We hit. Oh! I forgot that we don't only do this on close. We do this when we press go as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it a function and then just call the function up here. Or I guess right above it. You can, so organizing your functions and if statements and everything like that is a hassle. And I'm still trying to figure out the best way for it for me. It's really up to the user and whatever you feel like is best for you. For me, I like putting the function that relates to what I'm working on right above the thing I'm working on. So when I'm working with UI stuff and I have these, which are like event checks, this checks to see if the button is pressed, then executes the code. If I have something like this right above it, I'll put its helper function so that you know where to find it. It's right above it. Sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes I have it all over the place, and that's kind of my fault. I never know where to put it. But it's always good to practice good organization and not having a huge messed up code. So now if I have that checked and go and then run it again, now it has the check because I'm pressing go. If I do that and press exit, now it's off. Cool. Awesome. Any questions? Yeah, the problem is I don't know what main code really counts for this. Because functions oftentimes help out main code. So I'm like, all right, where am I going to put these functions? At the very top of the thing? Can you make an expression that will generate a random value for one frame? Someone asked for this in the DaVinci Discord, and I was just curious. A random value for one frame. I'm not entirely sure what you're asking about. Like, so random values to begin with are weird. There is a function or a library of functions in Lua that allows you to do random stuff. Like there's os.random, but the randomization is random per file, not per time you load the file. So if you have a file that has randomization in it, it's not going to actually randomize. There's a workaround for it that you have to like import time or something like that. So I don't know. But for a single frame, I'm not sure. I also don't know the use case of this. Like, what's the use case of having a random value generated for a single frame? An expression, I don't know about that. But potentially some code you could do. Some math with some code. With some complicated Lua stuff. Somewhat complicated, not super complicated. But basically just checking. I don't know, I guess you could do it in functions too. Or in expressions too. I mean, I would say, yeah. No, this totally makes sense. You can do this, yeah. So if you're using expressions, I'm going to type this in the chat. If you're doing expressions, it would be IIF, and then we can do IIF meaning if, and then we can do time is equal to whatever number they want. So time equals 10, which is the frame count they're on. We can then set os.random, otherwise set it to 0. And this theoretically gives you a random number at that frame, which let's just check. Let's do this. Let's just give this the expression. Oh yeah, actually in this, if you were to give it a couple of numbers, it'll actually do it between those two numbers. So now at frame 10, which does not actually, oh, here it is. So at frame 10, it should give us a random number, which it does not want to. Why? I don't know. It's because it's not added to the out. What's happening? What? What? Hold on. Let me copy this real quick and add it to a fresh comp. They really do. It's really, really annoying that it's so small. Oh, that's what she said. Okay, it seems to be upset about something I typed in. Oh, because to check if it's equal, you have to do 2 equal signs. Oh, something else. Is it not os.random? Math.random. I don't know why I'm trying to do os.random. Dummy. Okay, math.random. So now, theoretically, only on frame 10, it'll give us a random number. Which it's not doing. Oh, no, it did for a second there. Did you see that? What was that? How's it going, Doc? You know, it's giving us something for a split second. So it's kind of working. I guess theoretically this is working. I don't know if it's actually doing anything, but it is possibly working. Here's the code for it. I'll put it in the chat. There's the code I just used. Theoretically it works. Ooh, no. Car troubles are the worst. Thankfully, I don't drive my car too often, so I don't have to worry about it. I work from home. But yeah, that's pretty much all that I had planned for today. I'm gonna go ahead and update the shop listing. Yes, scripts and expressions. Scripts and expressions are both in Lua, but expressions uses a very simplified version of Lua. You can access direct Lua with expressions, and I'll show you that here. If you were to go to the Fusion comp, if it'll work for me. If you come into an expression and put a colon in front of it, you can type in actual Lua code. So in here now we can type in like local t equals 6, and we can do semicolon if, you know, t is equal to 6, then print funny whatever, you know, and then end. We can see it's saying funny, and it says it 4 times every single frame. And this is still not full Lua, mind you. You can't do a lot of things in it still. So that is all about that. When is the macro tool dropping? Hopefully this month. Hopefully hopefully July. I've just been putting it off. That's why I have trouble with some things. Yeah. It's like a part of Lua, but it's not Lua, and it's not well documented everything possible you can do in it. At least what I know of. I haven't really looked for it, I guess, but I don't think it's really well documented too much. Is it possible to use that version of Lua in a scripting file? It is not. You can only use regular Lua in a scripting file. You can only use the expressions Lua in expressions or simple expressions. Your first repair was getting a pair of tires. The second was repairing a cracked rear subframe. Jeez, dude. You know, time only exists for expressions. You can add expressions to a control, but you cannot get time directly the exact same way. I actually don't know off the top of my head how to get the current frame. I wouldn't assume it'd be that hard, but I don't know it off the top of my head. Was everyone saying fire too? Yes, that's a yep. Comp.current frame. Yeah, but you can't use time, unfortunately. I believe comp.current frame is correct. Or colon, one of the two. I'm not even looking at chat. Chat could be saying something I don't even know. Do you think it's smart if I include the ability to if I include the ability to like open up the file after saving? Like after you press save, you're able to quickly open up the file. Maybe not the actual file itself, but at least the folder it's in. Maybe. That's a lot of money on repairs, dude. That's ridiculous amount of money on repairs. Okay, I just updated the shop file for the Flow2 chapter script. At least for Ko-fi. Now I'm gonna do that for my other website. I might just make everyone use my actual website instead of using Ko-fi. I do have more sales on my actual website, so makes more sense for me anyway. But also, I know people really like Ko-fi. Like people really, really do like Ko-fi. I also don't know how to make sure that you can download and install updates of things I'm working on. I use Squarespace to host my page. I originally used Squarespace to make it as well, but I'm actually using Fourth Wall to make my website. And it's like made for content creators selling things. The website itself is maybe $8 a year, and then the website is free. Like Fourth Wall is free to sign up for. They just take some of your like commission that you make. This is what I'm looking for. So if you do want to start a shop, I definitely do recommend using it because it is very, very good. There we go. Now everything has been updated. Was it Wix we had to use? I don't remember if it was Wix or not. Wait, no, I never took economics. I don't think. I think I did. Could be wrong. I guess. Also, Soap, I don't know if you're in here in the chat, but yes, I totally agree. Orson is a fantastic person. He's a fantastic human being. I talk with him fairly regularly. English, please work. And he's a really chill guy working on some really cool stuff. and some really cool stuff that I might be helping him out with in the future. I might also be working on snap captions in the future. So that's pretty cool stuff. But let me go ahead and send this chat out. I'm just letting someone know that I finished up an update to the script that I released yesterday. There we go. I'll also drop the link in the chat here. Yep. So the Flow to Chapter script is a really good script. If you haven't heard me talk about it yet, it takes markers from your timeline that you've set for like making YouTube chapters. Like you've set certain parts when certain things are happening, and you want those to be YouTube chapters. But unfortunately, it'll take too long to do that. So you don't have time to look back through all of your markers and then put those into your YouTube description. It just takes too long, you know? It's way faster to make your markers. You just press M, you set the name, then you move on. And then afterwards, you can run this beautiful script and it will turn those markers into the correct format to put onto YouTube. So if we run my script on my video from yesterday, we can test it out. Alex has not given me feedback on the macro creator. I'm assuming he's gotten busy and forgotten about it, because that be how Alex is. He's very busy.'s like, when I gave him the demo for it, he was like, yeah, I can't even look at it until like next week. And it was like halfway through the week at that point. So he's always doing something. He's always busy. All right, here's the project. Yeah, making chapters on YouTube sucks. So with the script, you can just make your markers like this. Make sure you have one at 0, 0, just as you should if you're any regular case of having chapters. So you have your first one, and you can go through and make all your ones. You don't have to have notes or any colors or anything. You just then run the script that I just finished working on. You can use either the clip markers or timeline markers. You'll probably never use the clip markers because the clip markers don't actually act the same. It's just there as an extra feature. And you can include the hours if you have a long video, and you can select where you want to put the file, which we're just going to put it on probably in downloads, and we can tell the script if we want it to also print it into the console or just print it into the console. So right now it's just saving the file. If we click it once to go to the first state, it will save the file and also print to the console. If we make it to the third state, the checked state, it will just print to console. So if we were to go, it just prints it. If we were to run the script again, and instead just make the file, it'll run the script and it'll tell you where it's saved, and you can go and reopen it. And it has all of your stuff in there. And then, of course, if you do them both, it'll do them both. Really, the idea of this is just for like also archiving. To just archive where certain key points are as well. So there you go. Now just saved the file and it also printed. Pretty cool. I don't know what the plan is for Snap Captions. I know that we're updating it. We're adding some new features to it. But that's a whiles away. He's finishing up other projects right now. Print is like execute, right? What? Printing just like puts text into the console. I'm not sure what you're asking me, Sleeveless. Here, I can make myself big again. Yeah, we don't need to see this so big. Execute is usually reserved for, I think if you have like a script, like other file in your, in like your files or sending to somebody, for example, for your project, you can like execute it in the console to rerun it, to like run the other script or something like that. Yeah, I'll talk to Orson about doing that. We might just make our own version of William Justice's timeline editor, which is fair. It's a pretty interesting script. It's pretty basic, to be fair, but it's a nice script. But it's also good to have a little bit more changeability. Like I might see if I can figure out how to actually do that so that I can change everything. I don't think so. I'm not sure what do this is from, or what do this actually does in the one you're talking about, or if it's not the actual syntax. But it doesn't tell your script to do something. Print will just put something into the console. It just puts it into the logs. It won't run any code if you put code in there. But it will read variables as strings. Yeah, not to mention the edit page stuff for DaVinci is also like really buggy. So I don't blame him for having problems with making it work well, and for having like you having problems making it work well for you. It's a pain in the butt. What are you confused about, Sleeveless? Like, things happen when they're written down in the code. If you have a function, you just have to call the function at any point. If you have a line of code not in an if statement or a function, I guess if statements will run anyway. But if you have something not inside of a function, it will run as soon as the script is run. If it's a function, it will wait until the function is called again to run. Yeah, so let me try to walk you through what the script is doing. Maybe it'll help you to see what's going on. All right. So up here at the top, let me hide myself for a minute. These are things I haven't taught you yet, but these are just making variables of like folder locations. And then I'm making functions, and these functions are sitting here until they are to be called at any other point in time. This function is being called directly after it's being made, so this variable will just have the results of this function. And this variable will now, after it's been run at the very start of the script, it will just store the information until it's needed again. And the same thing with these variables here. And then when it comes to making displays, making GUIs, you create the actual layout, but then you also have to run the layout. So this is creating the look of it, but it's not going to do anything until this is actually being ran as an actual viewable window. So this is similar to a function, but it's kind of its own environment. It's kind of its own thing. It's kind of difficult to explain that without having a whole video on that yet. But then the functions, the rest of these functions in here, these are all like the helper functions to make stuff work. So like the converting to frames, the getting all markers, these all wait until they're actually activated. So if we come all the way down here, this is the very first thing that happens when you run the script. It will run that function up at the very top, checking to see if the script is installed. It saves it to this variable, and if that variable comes back as false, it will run this code, which actually opens up this UI, which is just a simple window to press OK on, basically. And when that's done, it just prints installed. And print is literally just... It's literally just puts things in the console. It does not do anything special. It's just a way of debugging code, or seeing what's happening in your code, or telling a story, or anything really. And then when we run this script, if it is installed, we first set controls, which does what we did earlier today, which gets the data that we saved in Fusion and then applies it to the controls before they are visible to the user, but they exist still because they are created up above with this big list of code up in here. This is where it was made, so it knows these exist and it knows that these should be certain values right now, but it doesn't know what those values are going to be until this function runs, and then it sets those values to be something specific. Kind of making sense, kind of not making sense. And when we actually go to run the script, we set all the controls, and everything in the script, I don't have it open right now, but everything in the script, sorry, I'm bringing up my Ko-fi page so you can see what I'm talking about in full screen. Okay, so if I open this up, none of these controls, like this drop down, this checkbox, this text box, this button, none of these matter until you press go. This is all just setting up all the information that it needs to do what you want it to do. So when you press go, it first saves the controls, because when you press go, it also then closes it after it's done. It gets variables and stores things. It runs functions right here. We're getting all markers right here, which is a couple of lines above this. We're getting all markers right here, which is running a bunch of other code, which basically goes through loops to make sure we get all the information from our markers. And then we convert the frames to time code so that we can print it as a string. And this all handles if you want it to be printed, if you want it to be in a file or not. And this will handle saving it or printing it or whatever you want it to do. But when you press go, this is all that's actually being ran until it hits a function. When it hits a function, it stops everything else and runs that function. So when you press that first, it stops everything, saves the controls, gets the variables, runs these functions, and then runs everything else to save it. And it's only being ran because the first thing that's actually being able to be ran down here is the very bottom of the file being an if statement. This if statement not being a function is the reason why it's able to run. And then this is basically doing everything else for us. This is basically this for UI. Like window colon show is this for UI. And then these keep it running. Well, this keeps it running. And then whenever this loop ends, it just hides it. Which is why whenever you exit the loop, it's breaking out of the loop. And then it just finishes whatever was after that. If that's all making sense. If not, feel free to ask. I've explained a lot, so hopefully that all makes sense. That's why in the video from today, we barely had any print statements because we didn't need to. Everything ran just fine because it does what it's supposed to do. Like it just runs when it loads the file or launches the file, whatever. You guys got any other questions or anything else for me? I'll give you guys a few more minutes, but I think I'll be ending stream here soon. I gotta get ready to go again and then head back down to see the dog and also get some dinner because I'm kind of hungry. But yeah, any other questions? Otherwise, I'll leave you guys to it. Feel free to ask anything in the Discord. I'm always happy to answer questions there. It may take me a little bit, but it will be answered eventually, hopefully. If I missed your question, please remind me. Sometimes that happens. The rest of the day, going over to my sister's place, dog sitting this adorable Great Dane German Shepherd mix, so this horse, basically, and staying the night over there, just making sure he's okay. Maybe drinking some. Who knows? Just hanging out. Probably playing some Switch games. You know how it be. No problem, Henry. I'm glad to help. And like I said, feel free to reach out on Discord if you have any more questions. But I just like doing these because they're good. It's good for you guys to like actually see me face to face. I guess not face to face, but you get to see my face as I'm like answering your questions and like actually talking about stuff in full length detail and not just a couple of lines in a quick little message back to you. I'm also always open for calling on the Discord, by the way. Like, I have audio channels in there if we ever needed to all get together and talk about something or fix a problem someone's having or anything like that. So, seriously, if you ever want to hop on the Discord for any, like, direct questions, I got you. I'm your guy. This dude comes up a little bit above my waist, and I'm like maybe 5'9", maybe 5'10". This guy's big. You have a turtle? That's awesome. I love reptiles. I kind of want a reptile, but I also think they're a little bit of a pain to have to take care of. I guess certain ones are different, but like If you have a snake, you have to deal with the skin shedding occasionally, and pellets and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. I want an animal. I want a cat if anything, but animals are a handful, a hassle. Oh, I don't think I've mentioned this to anyone yet. Happy 500 subscribers. I did mention it in the channel, I guess, but I hit 500 subs. That's crazy. It's actually insane. We've actually surpassed it by a lot now. By the way, we're up to. Are we still up to that number? Yeah. Oh no, we actually went up one. We're up to 533 in just a couple of days. We hit 500, I think, like on a Friday. So we've gone up 30 in like one day. So we're looking pretty good. It's looking pretty nice. Can't wait. Can't wait until we get other YouTubers mentioning me. It's gonna be pretty sweet. But yeah, that's really sick stuff. And the Discord is growing pretty nicely, getting tons of questions, tons of new guys, new faces. Loving seeing all the growth we got going on here. It's fantastic. But I've also got a lot of things I got to work on now because people keep asking me for things and I don't know what to do first. And I need to make like a list to figure out like what may be the easiest to get done first. But I probably should get done the macro creator first. Probably should wait to finish everything else before I get the macro creator done. Yeah. The macro creator is the it's my kryptonite right now. Mostly because I don't want to have to figure out the search functionality and also make the saving feature for reactor. But besides that, I mean everything else is not too hard. I got like 50% done with the reopening feature of macros and just stopped working on it because I needed a break. I mean the marker chapters was not really a suggestion, but I could kind of like take the idea from somebody and make it a little bit cooler in my opinion. It's not necessarily cooler, but yeah. Sorry, my brain stopped functioning for a second. I did get another suggestion though. Let's see, where is it here? Someone wants a marker plugin that you set markers on your timeline yourself. You set them to be certain colors, and then you make a bin in the media pool. Put all of your clips in there in the order you want them to go into the timeline to those specific colors, and they'll just go to them. And it can be like video clip, sound effect, visual effect, bunch of stuff like that, which I think is really cool. I don't know how practical it is to everyone else, but it is definitely a really cool idea. And I think I've gotten a couple of other ideas too, but I really have to go through all of my chats with people and try to figure out, okay, what have people suggested and what can I make? Have people ask questions I've missed? It's I can understand why Mr. Alex Tech and all of them don't usually get onto Discord because people are constantly asking questions. It would be nice if you make the same as the other plugin, that you select specific color markers to export as chapters, because I use markers to stay organized as well. Yes. Yeah, I might update the plugin I was just updating today again in the near future to do that, because I was considering that too. But I also was considering, okay, this is at the end of the project when they might not have any need for their markers. They can just remove their markers and it's all fine. But It's also not fair to the editor, who has to then delete their markers that they might actually end up needing. So, yeah, making it like a specific color that you can select may be good to have as an option. Have it as like a drop down, not as like that long list I did before. But yeah, if that's it, I will go ahead and call it. Do you have a good suggestion? Is that what you're asking, or is that just you saying that because of what you just mentioned? My brain. Okay. I will pop out of here. You guys have a good rest of your day. Enjoy any last minute 4th of July festivities. Literally, I spent my jeez. I spent my 4th of July coding that script, so you can tell I had a really fun 4th of July. Ah. Yep. Alrighty, guys. I will catch you guys next week, where we are going to be going over animating animating with macros in mind, which is probably going to be the title, if not something better. But it's going to be animating basically the same thing we made in the last macro video, but specifically for a macro. So we're going to be using like anim curves. I'll be talking about case uses to use the keyframe stretchers and all the other stuff like that. So yeah, no, it's not a bad joke. My brain just doesn't understand. But yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys in that video, and of course, I should be back to Friday streams next week. We'll see how that turns out, but yeah. Besides that, y'all have a good rest of your day. Enjoy any last minute festivities, and happy 500 subs. Whoop whoop. All right, you guys. See ya.